Charlie Duke. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Bart Sibrel, thanks again
Sure.
for traveling halfway across the world to come here and hang out with me and Charlie Duke. Out of everything, and I know you cover a lot of ground with your theories, and in your documentaries, you do a very thorough job laying out every single point. But like, to you, what are like the top two or three reasons that you believe that the moon landing was a hoax?
Image D1. This gentleman's name is Cyrus Eugene Akers. He was the chief of security at Cannon Air Force Base, which is the special operations or intelligence headquarters for the Air Force. And as he was dying, in the presence of his son, there's a picture of him, General, if you want to look at it.
Okay. This is Cyrus Eugene Akers.
That's right.
How did you discover this guy?
His son contacted me.
Okay.
Based after his father confessed. And the first thing he confessed to was a homicide, that he felt like he needed to confess that he had murdered somebody in the past. And his son found out that he murdered a fellow employee at Cannon Air Force Base. And the military police came in and investigated the homicide. And when they asked him, why did you kill him? He said it was to cover up the moon landing fraud, which they both had eyewitnessed. And he felt that his friend, who thought it was morally wrong, was going to go public with it. And so he murdered him to keep it a secret. If you go to D2, we can watch a 3-minute video of the son and see his testimony about it.
President Johnson in 1968, okay? In Cannon Air Force Base in 1968, he said by the time he got there, that there was already 2 large hangars that were connected. There was hundreds of dump trucks that came in and dumped sand and stone, and cement powder was powdered over the top of all that to make it look like a lunar landscape. They had men that fashioned it into a lunar landscape, he said. Okay, I've never known my dad to lie, so this all took me by surprise. You know, what's that all about? So anyway, he said that in front of the airplane hangars was pole framing with large canvas tents that was concealing the inside of the staging area. Inside the staging area, on flatbed trucks, was uncrated the lunar lander that was reassembled back inside the hangars. All of the walls were painted flat black, and the ceilings as well. He was sworn to secrecy by the NSA, and they would put him in prison for breaking that oath. When Dad saw the moon landing on TV, he cried. He said he knew that what he had witnessed on TV was exactly what they recorded in that hangar. There was no reason for them to go flying around and everything. They had detailed high-definition photos of the landing area. There was no reason for them to go flying around to a different landing area that almost exhausted their fuel, except for drama, because everything had gone so smoothly. Nothing, you know, so it had to be something. Anyway, Dad was one of 3 guards that guarded the inside of the front entrance. There was a list of 15 people who could enter. No one else was allowed by order of President Johnson. And here is that list. And I gave it to Bart Sibrel as well. And he checked out a lot of these names, and he says he can verify a lot of these people and what they do. And I come across a couple myself. Anyway, President Johnson, Neil Armstrong, Edwin Aldrin, Werner von Braun, Robert Emmenegger, Gene Kranz, James Webb, Joe Kerwin, Dr. Thomas Payne, Glenn Looney, Dr. Christopher Kraft, Dr. James Van Allen, General Trudeau, Lieutenant Colonel Donald Simon, and Grant Norrie. My dad, he raised me by the book. I know he didn't lie to me. And as I started seeing more and more of what he was telling me was true, I realized my dad wasn't lying.
You retired a general, right? Okay. What was your security clearance?
Top secret.
Okay. So when you have a top secret, you're not allowed to tell your wife or your children, right?
What?
Whatever the secrets are. Whatever secrets you have as a top secret clearance, if you told your wife or your children, you would be violating your oath. Is that right?
In the military, that's true. But
Okay.
NASA did not have us swear an oath that we are lying or not lying.
I understand. But the point is, you have top secret clearance. Now, if you're willing to lie to your wife and to your children, why should we believe you?
I don't necessarily think that. I think that anybody who is in a high-level military position that has to protect government secrets is going to protect their oath. It doesn't mean they're a liar. That means that they're protecting national secrets, something they swore to do and devoted their career to. And if they divulge those secrets, they will go to prison for it. And there's been many cases where people have done that, have been sent to prison by the federal government for blowing the whistle on things and following whistleblower protocol. So I don't think we're going to get anywhere by calling people liars. First of all,
Well,
second of all,
I'm not. What I'm saying is either the gentleman we saw who was lying as he's dying, or you're lying. Only one of them is the true, right?
Okay.
Either that guy's lying while he was dying, confessing to a homicide.
sure. What's your point?
Well, I'm just bringing that to
Okay.
the audience's attention.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You're saying we never landed on the moon? No.
Charlie.
You're a really good
I
actor.
really didn't know that.
Did you ever win the Academy Award for Best Actor?
To me, Apollo was real. Wait a minute. In the United States, there were 400,000 people working on Apollo.
Right.
Must be real because of 400,000. And of course, every year that number increases.
Mm-hmm.
There are 400,000 tellers at Bank of America. But do you really think what the teller knows and what the CEO knows about corruption in the bank are identical? I interviewed Eugene Krantz. He told me that someone in the command center at the console can tell no difference whatsoever between a simulation and an actual flight. Do we really think the CIA is so stupid to tell the guy making the glove or the door or the boot, hey, we're really not going to the moon, be sure not to tell anybody? And that's why they had you astronauts at the command center to cover the mistakes about faking it. Once the rocket went up, there's only 3 eyewitnesses to the mission and no independent press coverage. So if you add people who delivered food and made paper clips and did the printing and the contractors and all their secretaries and food vendors, you could probably pad 400,000. But the atomic bomb involved 129,500 people, and only 8 people knew what they were building. So if someone in the command center cannot tell the difference between a real flight and a simulated flight, how can the public watching it from their living room or people years later? So that argument is flat. They say with 100% certainty that the man who was going to be the first man to walk on the moon was murdered by the CIA. And if you go to D3, it's a short clip. You can see Scott Grissom say that out of his own mouth.
It was intentionally sabotaged by someone. It's been a question in my mind, what was found in the accident investigation and how was that handled? Was the CIA involved or whoever? But it was done intentionally.
Us Grissom was Apollo 1, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And according to his son and widow, he was murdered by the CIA. One of his last words were, if we can't talk between 2 buildings, how are we going to go to the moon? They couldn't get a wired intercom to work between 2 buildings. And Neil Armstrong is supposed to pick up the first moon rock. He rehearsed it 6 weeks beforehand, and the stick to pick up the rock falls apart. And the lunar lander crashed weeks beforehand. If they can't get a stick with a bag on the end of it to stay together, if they can't get an intercom to work between two buildings, how are they going to go to the moon? China, the most industrialized nation on Earth, says with 50 years better technology, it's going to take at least 15 years to go to the moon. And yet somehow they did it in 8 years with 1960s technology. We interviewed Ed Mitchell and showed him the footage, which is one of the proofs that we'll look at. Footage we uncovered that says, do not show to the public at the beginning of the reel, and they're faking being halfway to the moon. They can't leave Earth orbit. And when he was shown that, he turned beet red. He started cursing. He literally kicked me from behind. And in the commotion, we left a wireless microphone on him. And in the commotion, my cameraman forgot to hit stop record. And you can play back that clip. It's about 5 seconds long. They're talking about calling the CIA to have me killed.
Yeah.
And who killed?
Me.
You want to call the CIA? Have them whacked?
The CIA shows up and threatens to kill him and his family if he ever talks to me again. There are a total of 15% of the Apollo astronauts died in accidents within a 2-year period. These are the astronauts who would not cooperate with the fraud. Go ahead, play the clip.
But Grissom wasn't the only Apollo critic to meet with a suspicious and untimely death. Thomas Ronald Barron was a safety inspector during Apollo 1's construction. After the fire, Barron testified before Congress that the Apollo program was in such disarray that the United States would never make it to the moon. Then exactly 1 week after he testified, Barron's car was struck by a train. But the Apollo program continued. And so did the string of untimely deaths. Between 1964 and 1967, a total of 10 astronauts lost their lives in freak accidents. These deaths accounted for an astonishing 15% of NASA's astronaut corps.
To keep something that's a lie wrapped up and covered over, you've got to eliminate all the people that can talk about it.
With 5 decades better rockets and technology, the farthest that NASA can send an astronaut into space is 1,000th the distance to the moon. Listen to NASA saying they destroy the technology.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
So, General, why was that technology destroyed? Why was it destroyed?
Why do you know why, or have any idea why the technology was destroyed by NASA?
I don't know that the technology was destroyed. We flew to the moon, okay? The program was successful. We did 6 landings on the moon, okay? We used technology that was designed by Marshall Space Flight Center called a Saturn V rocket. Was the biggest rocket so far ever launched to get us to the moon, okay? So we went to the moon.
The question about the technology being destroyed, you're not aware of the technology being destroyed or gone missing from all the Apollo programs?
All the telemetry data was destroyed. All the original videotapes were destroyed. Videotapes were accidentally recorded over, and the only machine on Earth that could play it back was intentionally disassembled.
Okay,
Has there ever been a time, and this is another proof, has there ever been a time in the history of the world that someone developed a new technology, broke the sound barrier, split the atom, and then destroyed the technology afterwards? It's never happened. It's never happened. They destroyed it to cover their tracks, that the rocket didn't have enough fuel to leave Earth orbit, which we have proof of as well. I have von Braun's own quote, which we'll read, that says one rocket will never go to the moon without multiple fueling, and we'll show that from von Braun as well.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What does that got to do with our discussion?
Well, he asked, what proof do we have that they didn't go to the moon? And there's a lot of proof that you didn't go to the moon.
How about the proof that we did go to the moon?
Well, we already heard all of that. 400,000 people, that's been refuted. The Russians would have blabbed. That's been refuted. The moon rocks has been refuted. It's one of my clips. That Neil Armstrong, chain of custody, allegedly picked up a rock, personally put it in his pocket, and then later personally gave it to the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, which was immediately sealed in a container in a museum, was opened up a few years ago, and it's petrified wood. It's a fake. The moon rocks are fake. And Antarctica. Von Braun went to Antarctica to pick up pounds and pounds of lunar meteorites.
Yes.
So the rocks are either duplicates of meteorites picked up on Earth, made in a ceramics lab, or just fake.
All right, Bart.
And NASA had no comment. What do you have to say for yourself for a rock that had chain of custody from the moon to Neil Armstrong's hand to this museum ends up being a fake? NASA says no comment.
Why is all the original footage and the telemetry data gone?
We had a 16 millimeter camera. We had Hasselblads, which took photographs, and we had TV that sent back television from the lunar rover to Earth. It's a TV picture.
Okay, so it just broadcasts straight, doesn't record anything on it. It's just live broadcast.
It was recorded down here in Mission Control.
Okay, got it. Okay, I understand.
But we didn't have a recorder on. Well, we had. I'm not sure, but I don't think we had a recorder on board.
Okay, so the TV cameras were recorded down at Mission Control, and those would have been recorded on tapes, I'm guessing.
Right.
And those would be the tapes that have been erased.
Correct.
Okay, so that was the incompetence of NASA, allegedly.
Well, or intentional. Just like they intentionally destroyed the technology, they intentionally erased the tapes.
So they
knew what they were. There have been 6 presidents who have said a total of 9 times they're going to return to the moon in 5 years. You had Ronald Reagan said it, then Clinton said it, then Bush Sr. said it, then Bush Jr. said it twice, and Obama said it twice, and Trump said it one time, and they can't do it. With 50 years better technology, they can't return to the moon in 50 years. But somehow they could do it with 1960s technology on the first attempt.
Why don't you think we've been able to go back to the moon since 72?
Because they spent their money on other programs.
Well, the government spends every month 70% more money than they take in.
I'm not going to argue with you about this. We went to the moon. 6 times we landed on the moon.
You lied to the American public 6 times, which shows the arrogance of the American. Well, then
you don't
I guess
believe,
this guy
you don't believe we landed on the moon.
You didn't know that before you got here.
No,
yeah, no. His life's
so how did we get 600 pounds of moon rocks?
Well, like I said,
let's talk about the moon rock. Okay, let's put a pin there. Now let's talk about the moon rocks. Okay, are the moon rocks something that is available for the public to see?
D29.
Yeah. I mean, the moon rocks are on display all over the world, and also they're still doing experiments on the moon rock. NASA's the Lunar Planetary Institute, or whoever it is controlling those and sending those out. People submit experiment requests still today about to do experiments on the moon rocks. So there's still moon rocks available.
Did they let outside researchers do analysis on them? And
universities, yeah.
Universities do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they let universities have some. Like, I'm not involved in that at all.
Right, sure.
And, I've been with NASA for a long time, but the moon rocks are unique, and they're radioactive, whatever, and not radioactive evidence, but they're the way they have been collected. They were collected on every mission. They were isolated when they got back and put in the lunar receiving lab, and now they're still being given out samples. People are still requesting samples of moon rocks.
Von Braun went to Antarctica. There's a picture of him in Antarctica where he collected hundreds of pounds of lunar meteorites, which they use for fake moon rocks. NASA also has the most advanced ceramics lab in the world where they could take a rock and falsify micrometeorites sitting in it. And then go to clip 29. This is about moon rocks.
What?
It says they opened one up and it proved to be fake. If the moon rocks are fake, what about the moon missions?
Well, I brought back a couple 100 pounds, maybe, moon rocks. I don't remember exactly. And they're very unique.
The number one proof is what we have next. And I'm answering your question about what proof there is. Now, I gave NASA the benefit.
About what specifically?
About how they didn't go to the moon. They can't leave Earth orbit. They still can't leave Earth orbit.
Are we talking about radiation belts now?
No, I'm talking about the footage of them faking being halfway to the moon. So the first part you'll see in D8 is the slide that says not for public distribution.
Oh, it's not popped up.
There we go. Okay. So that shows that this is not for public distribution. Yeah, I asked NASA for unedited footage, and everything I got was pre-edited with a voiceover, and it's the same footage over and over again on 10 different reels, exact same footage. Most reporters are satisfied with that. I'm investigating the possibility that they faked it, and I asked for everything, specifically unedited footage. I got this in one other reel that was unedited. Now, at the very beginning of the reel, clip 9, which you're about to play, you'll hear NASA say, the TV picture looks great. Then there is exactly 4 seconds of dead air. You'll hear a third party that's not NASA, not the astronauts, presumably the CIA. And after 4 seconds go by, they tell Neil Armstrong in a private earpiece, talk. And then he starts speaking.
Charlie, have you ever seen this footage before?
No, it's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, it is crazy how corrupt the federal government is.
Well,
so
I mean, you're calling me a liar. I never went to the moon.
Well, obviously. I mean, what surprise. You knew who you were going to be here. You knew who was going to be here before you got here.
12 of
you
us.
act like it's a surprise.
I
It's
am
a good
a
acting.
surprise. I didn't realize that you thought it was all a fake.
You knew that. You reminded me of our phone conversation 20 years ago when you walked in the door that I said you quoted me word for word.
I showed you his website
that I had
before
proof
you came down
that we
here.
didn't go to the moon. You knew when he invited you. This is no surprise, and yet you're acting like you're surprised. This is why you should get the Academy Award. Now, the reason is if he's halfway to the moon, there would be an estimated 2-second radio time there and 2 seconds back. So they're faking a radio delay.
Okay.
Oh, Apollo 11, Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay,
I don't understand what he's talking about here, but the missions were not fake. They sent me to the moon.
And we understand that. You've been saying that for 56 years.
Hold on, Bart. The footage that we just watched was from Apollo 11. Could you hear it? Can you hear it in your headphones? It's Houston communicating with the astronauts on the radio, and then you hear a 4-second delay, and then you can hear the audio of someone going, talk. Why do you think that would be?
I don't know.
Okay.
In my recollection, I was in mission control for Apollo 10.
Mm-hmm.
I was Capcom. I was in mission control for Apollo 11. It's Capcom. And nothing like this ever happened in mission control.
No, there would never be anybody saying talk to anybody.
No.
It would just be as soon as you hear it, you would respond.
Generally, that was true, yeah.
Okay, what were the exceptions?
I can't think of any right now, but
Quality, the EQ of the audio of talk is completely different. It's not obviously NASA who just spoke,
Right.
And it's not Neil Armstrong who responded. They're faking a 4-second radio delay to pretend that they're beyond Earth orbit.
so what? I mean, I don't understand.
That's just one of his arguments. Is that because you hear the voice come in and say talk, The talk comes in 4 seconds after Houston finishes their statement, right?
Right, because if you play clip 11, Neil Armstrong, for the TV audience, the part that was shown to the public, says he's calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Right.
Halfway to the moon. Go ahead and play clip 11.
Roger, Houston, Apollo 11. Calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Okay, so that's him lying. He's not 130,000 miles out. He's still in Earth orbit. That's why they faked the 4-second radio delay.
We only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with the TV camera.
Okay, so go back to clip 11, the 130,000 miles out. Don't play the audio, but just bring up the image, and you can hit pause so we can see the image. So according to Neil Armstrong, there's only one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with the TV camera. Because if
Make sure you're talking to the mic.
Oh, yeah. So if you were really halfway to the moon, looking back at the Earth like this appears to demonstrate, even though it's a fake shot, you would have to have the lens of the camera to the window in order to shoot the Earth far away, floating in space. He says he's lying, 130,000 miles out, and he says that the camera is completely filling up the window. That's a lie, too. The camera is really at the back of the spacecraft. There's about 15 feet between the camera and the window. They've turned out all the lights, which they talk about because they thought these conversations would be edited out. And that's actually the circular window of the spacecraft, outside of which it's filled with the Earth and low Earth orbit. So this is supposed
Into the mic. Oh.
No, just let it play at normal speed. This is supposed to be the Earth, but that's fine. This is supposed to be the Earth floating in space. This is the outtake. That's why it said do not show to the public. There's Buzz Aldrin removing part of the effect in front of the window. That's a work light. The camera has been at the back of the spacecraft the entire time. The iris is opened and you can see the real location and the very bright Earth out the window. They just faked being halfway to the moon.
I don't understand the purpose of this conversation.
What is your position on the Van Allen radiation belts?
Well, my position is what von Braun's original findings were, which is that it's 250 times a lethal dose. We have a quote from him in print that he says that if you do the math. If you go to D13, this is a press release from the Apollo mission that was given to the press. They launch from Florida to be near the equator, and they go right out through the middle. You see that right at the equator. They go through the Van Allen radiation belt. Now, if the spacecraft, like General said, is going 3,000 miles an hour and they're 30,000 miles thick, that would be 10 hours in the radiation to the moon and 10 hours back. I believe maybe the spacecraft was going a little bit faster, but in any case, it was at least 2 hours in the radiation to the moon, up to 10 hours, and another 2 to 10 hours back. Now, the Orion mission sent up Geiger counters into the radiation belts in 2014, unmanned, and they registered the radiation. I called NASA. I said, I'm a journalist. This is a non-military, taxpayer-funded scientific mission. Can I please have the Geiger counter readings? They told me that was classified. And why would that radiation measurement be a classified secret?
Charlie, do you know why that would be classified?
I didn't realize it was. You have to accelerate to 25,000 miles an hour to get out of Earth orbit.
Okay.
I thought you said it was
Hold on,
3,000 miles an hour.
let him talk. He said he was at 3,000 when they were halfway. Sorry,
Earth's slowing you down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the total distance of the moon is about 3,000 miles an hour. 7 times 70, that's 210,000 miles. Okay.
So when
you go through the Van Allen belts, you're going so fast, it's just you're through.
When you guys were traveling through the Van Allen belts, were you guys paying close attention to like where in the Van Allen belts you were?
There wasn't very much conversation about it. It wasn't any danger. You're going through so fast, you're exposed to so much radiation, but it's just boom, you're through.
According to NASA, the radiation belts are 30,000 miles thick.
Right.
And if you were going 20,000 miles an hour, that would be an hour and a half in the radiation to the moon.
Although I don't even remember how thick they are.
Well, according to that math would suggest that it's about an hour in there, right? Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, about an hour and a half to the moon, hour and a half back at 20,000 miles an hour. But then there's a contradiction. If you're going 20,000 miles an hour with inertia, you'd be at the moon in a little over 10 hours rather than 3 days.
Yes.
Okay, so you leave Earth orbit. You're in Earth orbit. You got to accelerate to leave Earth orbit.
Correct.
Certain, I don't remember exactly the figure, but you accelerate to Earth. Then the Earth starts slowing you down. Okay.
At what point does it start slowing you down exactly?
As soon as you shut the engine off.
Oh, okay, got it.
Okay, but you're beyond that. You had enough velocity to get out of Earth orbit and go straight to the moon.
We have clip 14 of Kelly Smith of the Orion Project, which they said the radiation readings were classified. Here's a video of a new generation of NASA astronauts. We saw one saying they intentionally destroyed a technology for the first time in world history. And here we have the young guy in his 20s saying that the belts are dangerous radiation and the technology to go through them has not been invented yet.
We are headed 3,600 miles above Earth, 15 times higher from the planet than the International Space Station. As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice, once up and once back. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Okay, so he said we must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. So the radiation protection is a challenge that has yet to be resolved. We must solve these challenges in the future before we send people through this region of space. So the challenges of the radiation have not been resolved, and they must do it before they send people through this region of space. So right
It's
there, out of his own mouth.
It's definitely, I'm not saying that the astronauts never went to the moon. I'm in the middle here. But it is very weird that a guy in 2014 would say we have to solve the problem of the Van Allen belt's radiation before we go through. It's odd, right?
It sounds like to me it's odd, but we did it.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's why I'm saying you did not.
Right.
Obviously.
Where did 200 pounds of moon rocks come from?
I just showed you. Von Braun picked him up from Antarctica. There's a picture of that on the web, picking up lunar meteorites before he went to the moon for the first time. Seems like a weird use of his time. Moon rocks have proven to be fake. And according to a contractor that I spoke to at length, he says NASA has ceramics labs which can mimic moon rocks. Now, go to link 15 as we stay on the radiation. This is an article from Reuters that says radiation prevents travel to the moon. That's slide number 15.
Well, I walked on the moon. I don't know about anybody else, but
right.
John Young.
You keep saying that. We know that. We've been saying it for 56 years, and you're not going to admit your guilt. Nobody who was, brought to trial for
we're just trying to
crime ever admitted
we're going
their guilt
through
either.
each piece of evidence and trying to rationally analyze what it means and let the audience decide.
Read this article. What's keeping us from Mars? Space radiation, says expert. You want to read that? Because you're blocking me. What does it say?
Let's see. I can't see because of the play thing.
Go ahead. Take it from the top and hit play.
It says Washington Reuters by Maggie Fox, health and science editor. Cosmic rays are so dangerous and so poorly understood that people are unlikely to get to Mars or even back to the moon until better ways are found to protect astronauts, experts said on Monday.
So if the radiation is too severe to travel to the moon today with superior equipment, how did you go 50 years ago with inferior equipment?
We did it.
Well, we know that. You've been saying that for 56 years.
What are you aware
I'm still
of?
here.
What are you?
Which is proof you didn't go through the radiation.
Charlie,
That's not
what sort
true.
of what?
I
what
went to the moon.
I understand.
We picked up moon rocks.
was there any sort of special shielding or materials used on the exterior shell or the hull of the spacecraft to protect from radiation? Nothing. Okay.
Not that I remember.
Okay. This is from Dr. James Van Allen. He said this in 1959. Our measurements show. Can you hear me, Charlie? He said, our measurements show that the maximum radiation levels as of 1958 is equivalent to between 10 and 100 Roentgens per hour, depending on the still undetermined proportions of protons and electrons. Since a human being exposed for 2 days to even 10 Roentgens would have only an even chance of survival, the radiation belts obviously present an obstacle to space flight.
And then read the bottom part.
But this says 2 days. Exposed for 2 days to even 10 Roentgens. They were only in there for an hour, a little over an hour each way.
Well,
so it would have
but
been
read
2
the
hours.
math underneath it.
So, okay. 10 to 100 Roentgens per hour averages to about 10 to 100 Roentgens per hour averages to 50 per hour. Okay. At the claimed speed of the Apollo craft, this is not James Van Allen saying this. This is somebody who's saying this?
Well, this is the person who wrote the article.
Okay. So this person who wrote the article said that at the claimed speed of the Apollo craft, this would be 2 hours in the radiation to the moon and 2 hours in the radiation back from the moon, or 200 Roentgens. Since 10 Roentgens over 2 days will kill you, which is 0.2 Roentgens per hour, the radiation belts are 250 times a lethal dose.
And another reason is they don't have enough fuel. In my book, Moon Man, on page 149, here's von Braun saying it himself. There's not enough fuel to leave Earth orbit.
Let's hear
It is
von Braun
commonly
saying that.
believed that men will fly directly from the Earth to the moon. But to do this, we would require a vehicle of such gigantic proportions that it would prove an economic impossibility. Calculations have been carefully worked out on the type of vehicle we would need for the nonstop flight from Earth to the moon and return. The figures speak for themselves mathematically. 3 rockets would be necessary, and each ship would be taller than the Empire State Building, 100 stories. Apollo rocket was about 30 stories. And weigh about 10 times the tonnage of the Queen Mary, or 800,000 tons times 3. The Saturn V weighed 2,500 tons. That's a difference of 30,000% times 3.
Steve will find it.
What's the purpose of this discussion?
You don't know.
The purpose of this discussion is
That we didn't go to the moon.
Allegedly.
You're just
that's what I'm
proving
taking
if you're acting like you don't know, it just proves that you're acting during the interview. So he's not the only one who said you need multiple fuel trips to go to the moon.
Okay. This is a headline from spacepolicyonline.com. Okay. At least 15 Starship launches needed to execute the Artemis 3 lunar landing. SpaceX will need to launch at least 15 Starships to execute the Artemis 3 lunar landing, NASA said today. So NASA said. So SpaceX will need 15 Starships to execute it, says NASA.
Right. And
Starship
they carry twice the fuel.
Starship cannot fly directly to the moon, but must refuel in Earth orbit before setting out for deep space.
Yeah, that's what the clip of von Braun says that I didn't include, that you can go to the moon if you do multiple trips of fuel and ferry the fuel first. And now, you're going to love this next clip. Go to clip 19. This was said less than a year ago by a rocket scientist who works with NASA. And he says it's going to take possibly more than 15 trips of fuel in order to leave Earth orbit and go to the moon.
So we did do it. Is what you're saying?
I don't know why you
Go ahead,
keep acting surprised.
Go ahead, play it.
You're just proving you're acting. You know, you came in here and reminded me of a phone call we had 20 years ago when I said I have proof we didn't go to the moon when I found the footage.
So, okay, who's this guy?
Issues in how people communicate about it. Like there's some architecture problems that people are unwilling to talk about these days because of how they got there politically. And I was like, you know what? I just want to go say the thing that nobody's saying. So that's what I decided to do. Now, a lot of people I respect, when I was doing my research and asking these questions, they said, be careful, Destin. If you say certain things, this might change your relationship with NASA forever. And I thought about it, and I decided, you know what? This is the truth, and this is what needs to be said.
I did not understand until this week, when I really thought I was going to embarrass myself in front of you guys, and then decided to further embarrass myself in front of you guys. I didn't realize that in order to get the human lander to the moon, we have to launch a bunch of additional rockets to tank up in low Earth orbit. I didn't know that. And I'm like, well, how many rockets do we have to do that with? And they're like,
Pause.
6. And then I start, because I...
Who is this?
He's a rocket scientist building rockets for NASA.
What's his name?
I don't know.
That's would be important to know.
That guy, he's a YouTuber. He has a channel called Smarter Every Day.
Smarter Every Day on YouTube.
Okay. So he's saying it's going to take multiple.
Let's finish playing the video.
Yeah.
I know people. I start calling people. I was like, dude, really, how many rockets is it? They're like, well, boil off. And okay, so I was like, some people were like, well, it's looking like 8. I was like, 8 rockets? We have to fire 8 rockets to fire 1 rocket to the moon? And then they're like, I mean, that's what they're saying, but it's probably more like 12. Really? And then I was like, you know, I'm an engineer. I know how to do this stuff. So I started to account for like nominal schedule slip and boil off. And this is how many rockets it's going to take to fuel up that thing to get it to the moon. I've done the math. If you had any questions.
I found the Von Braun clip. It's D17 there, Steve.
Okay.
Von Braun says the biggest rocket you can build can only achieve Earth orbit. You need multiple fuel trips to go to the moon.
Okay.
Says it on camera as well as in print.
All right. This will be good for Charlie to see. Charlie, watch this one.
Here to reveal a plan for a trip around the moon is the chief of the guided missile development at the United States Army's Redstone Arsenal, Dr. Werner von Braun.
A voyage around the moon must be made in 2 phases. A rocket ship taking off from the Earth's surface will use almost all the fuel it can carry just to attain a speed great enough to balance the pull of gravity. Unpowered, it will then keep circling the Earth in an orbit outside of the atmosphere. This is the first phase. However, if we can refuel the ship in this orbit with fuel brought up by cargo rocket ships, it can set out on the second phase, the trip around the moon and back.
So 3 people just said, Von Braun said it twice, that you have to make ferried fuel trips to have enough fuel to leave Earth orbit.
I've never heard that before.
Play D20. It's real
Well,
short.
Bart, when it comes to
what's the point of this discussion? We did not go to the moon?
You're just digging your hole deeper every time you say that, General.
So Bart, when it comes to
wait.
Yeah.
So Apollo was all faked.
According to Bart, yes, it was all faked. It was a big propaganda campaign during the Cold War.
And so we had 260-something pounds of moon rocks that were brought back. They're all faked?
I guess Bart hasn't seen them, hasn't analyzed them.
Yeah, you remembered word for word a telephone conversation we had 20 years ago, and at the beginning, not recorded, and somehow you can't remember what we said a half an hour ago, that the moon rocks are fake. We showed an article. Von Braun picked up hundreds of pounds in Antarctica right before the Apollo mission, and according to a contractor, they can manufacture them. Go to clip D20.
Just let me make it. Yeah, I was in delusion for 2 weeks. I was on the moon for 3 days.
Well, you said you have top secret clearance.
Just a minute. And I picked up 200, I think we picked up a couple of 100 pounds of moon rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And we brought them back. They've been analyzed. They're moon rocks. And so I don't understand the purpose of this discussion.
Modern day shuttle astronaut saying the farthest they can go is Earth orbit, and they hope to eventually go to the moon, D20.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond. and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, the moon, Mars, asteroids, the moon, Mars, asteroids. There's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
We're also really pushing the boundaries in terms of where we're going forward with exploration. I think humans are naturally driven to do this, and this is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Wait a minute. You're saying that nobody landed on the moon?
You know that. I don't know why you're acting surprised.
Yes, that's what he said.
That's what he says.
Okay. So where did all the moon rocks come from?
You've asked that 4 times.
So
we've already covered that.
Okay.
My first military source who told me the missions were fake said it's all about the money. $250 billion in today's dollars to go to the moon when they only achieved Earth orbit. That means they can keep about 75% of that.
Like, the evidence is overwhelming. We went to the moon. There's 600 pounds of moon rocks. They're totally different with the radiation history and things like that. To me, the evidence is overwhelming that we really did go to the moon. We landed 6 times. And I think the photographs prove it all. And that if you're going to fake something, do it once and shut up. We kept going.
That's right, to make money from the taxpayers and the arrogance
We
of the
didn't
federal
make
government.
nobody made any money. NASA had a budget.
$250 billion is a lot of money, and if you only do Earth
But
orbit, you
it
keep
was-
a lot of that.
Well, the CIA has a big budget. So everybody, State Department has a big budget. And
According to scientific methodology, a preposterous claim like cold fusion has to be independently duplicated. No nation on Earth, including the United States, is able to repeat the moon landing. That's like saying we did cold fusion, but for some reason we can't do it 50 years later. We destroyed the technology.
we did
Does that make
6.
sense?
We did 6 landings.
Well, you claim to have made 6 landings.
Yeah.
Send
Well,
me to
wait
the
a minute.
moon.
We're building it, Artemis.
Well, you postpone returning to the moon, and 10 times presidents have said they're going to return to the moon in 5 years. 10 times.
I haven't heard that.
And yet they can't do it.
I don't know whether they sent everybody else, but they sent me to the moon. I'll stand by that.
I love it, Charlie. Well, hey, man, thank you so much for doing this. This has been a fascinating discussion. I learned a lot. Bart, thank you for your time and for making this happen. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the public takes this, and they will decide what they want to believe.